Hello friends, welcome back to the Destination Baby and Kids YouTube channel. This is Gina. I am your host with the most, and I am super excited to be here today to go over the complete range of NUNA baby infant car seats. So what is an infant car seat? An infant car seat is exclusively rear facing. It will have a handle. It will have the ability to pop in and out of a vehicle and also go directly onto a stroller. So, NUNA offers a broad variety of car seats in a ton of different sizes. They have all-in-ones, they have rotational, but they also have 4 separate infant seats. So, that can be a little confusing for consumers, so we're going to hopefully be able to help you understand the differences between the 4 models that they currently offer. Before we get any further, please go ahead and like the video. If it makes sense to share this with somebody who's expectant or curious about these products, go ahead and share it. Sharing is caring. And also, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. The broader the viewership becomes, the easier it is for me to get a hold of these products and be able to demonstrate them for you. This is all non-sponsored content. Nothing on my page is sponsored. These are all my personal opinions and reviews of selling this stuff for 20 years. I have a real store in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the other thing I'd encourage, if you like any of these products, please go to my website, destinationbabykids.com. Feel free to check out the colors. Feel free to buy it. We can send it directly to you. But happy to help you understand what to purchase and would love for you to purchase directly from me if it makes sense for you. Okay, let's launch in. These are the seats behind me. We're going to go through the pricing, all that good stuff. All right, so what are we looking at? Well, they're all named PIPA, which is kind of annoying because it would be easier if they had different names, but we're going to do our best to help keep it clear. The lightest weight one on the end here, in the lightest color as well, this color is called Biscotti, and I am just going to go ahead and put the sunshade sky drape down. That color is called Biscotti. That is the PIPA AIRE. That is going to be a $380 price point, and it comes with the original PIPA base. The next one up on our list here in this color called Cedar, this is going to be the PIPA Urban. So the PIPA Urban is different than all the other PIPAs because it is a baseless, exclusively baseless car seat. So there's no option to use this seat with a base, and you cannot buy this seat on its own, meaning you would have to buy a NUNA stroller that included this car seat in the box with it when you make the purchase. Why does this matter? It matters a great deal. There are certain colors of strollers and car seats from NUNA that are only available in specific combinations. So like for instance, this cedar color is available on this model car seat provided you buy the NUNA Travel LX in the matching cedar color, okay? You can't buy the Travel LX stroller in cedar unless you're buying it with this specific car seat. So again, highly confusing to consumers. NUNA would be really smart to clean this up moving into the next year, but what do I know? I just sell the stuff. Okay, so the next one on our list that I'm touching right now in the gray granite color is going to be called the PIPA RX. Now, for complete transparency, the RX is by far the best model. It's my favorite. I am happy to extol the virtues of this one versus the other ones. So, because again, this is not sponsored content, this is my channel, my opinions. I'm going to keep coming back to this one as the strongest value and my favorite. This one is $450, and of these options, this would be the one I would absolutely encourage my customers to purchase, and this is the one that I would buy for myself if I were going to buy a NUNA infant seat. So, RX is my favorite. If you want to stop watching, you feel confident because I haven't steered you wrong before, you can stop now, but I am going to walk you through why it's the best, so no worries. Now, most expensive on the end here in this color called Monterey, which is a specialty limited edition color. We love that. This is going to be $550. So this is NUNA's newest, fanciest, comes with the most stuff out of the box. So we do love stuff that comes with stuff. And as you can see, all of these models have the sky drape. This is a really important feature. My nephews are redheads. The kiddos are going to get the most sun damage the first 2 years of their life. This seat is probably only going to be used up through the first birthday. And we'll talk about that in 1 second. But what we love is that if it was sitting on a stroller, you would be able to keep kiddo fully shaded. And also in the vehicle, you can keep kiddo fully shaded. Also, as you can see, these sky drapes always have ventilated mesh on the side of them, which is really important. Now, one distinct difference with the Air RX, the RX, and the Urban is that they all have ventilation on the actual sunshade. If you go down to the cheapest model, which is the Air, it does not have any ventilation on the sunshade. That is deliberate. That keeps it on paper slightly lighter weight than the other models. However, for me, the ventilation is critical. And to be honest, I'm a little annoyed that the Urban has the best ventilation out of all of them, because the Urban is probably my least favorite car seat that they make. But yeah, the 3 more expensive ones all have ventilation. So speaking of pricing, let's talk pricing. PIPA Air, which is the least expensive, is going to be $380. The PIPA Urban, as I mentioned, you cannot buy it on its own, but NUNA does assign a value of $400 to this product. The RX is $450. Again, my favorite. And then Air RX is $550. So we run the gamut from essentially $380 all the way up to $550 in terms of pricing. Now, sizing. How long can we use this seat? This is going to be a seat for a newborn all the way through the first birthday. However, this is something that gets really complicated with these car seats, and people do a very poor job of listening. A car seat will have a weight limit and a height restriction. Once your kid maxes out one of those 2 things, you need to move up to the next size seat. Why does this matter? These children are going to outgrow the height of this car seat before they ever get to the weight restriction, okay? Let me repeat that. They will hit the height restriction on a car seat before they hit the weight limit, okay? Why does that matter? People will brag about how they have a car seat that, let's say, is an infant seat, but it holds 35 pounds. A typical 35-pound child is 3 or 4 years old. If you look at a 3 or a 4-year-old, they would be so outrageously sized to fit into a seat that's this size, it's like ridiculous, right? Well, that's because these seats have a height limit too. So they're gonna have a weight limit and a height limit, and these companies make the weight limit very, very high because American consumers are obsessed with weight. We are a weight-focused culture. That being said, kiddos are always gonna get to the height restriction of stuff before they get to the weight restriction. Even if you have the largest child on the planet and you're certain you have the biggest kid in Christendom, they're always going to reach the height before they reach the weight. And any of these infant seats should take you through first birthday, okay? Because if you look at a height and a weight chart from like the Cleveland Hospital or wherever, if you Google it online, and you look at the average height and weight of a 1-year-old, they're all going to accommodate through the first year. So that's very exciting. Now, PIPA Air has a weight limit of 30 pounds and 30 inches. And I believe the starting weight on all of these is 4 pounds. So baby would need to be at least 4 pounds to fit in any of these, and then they will go up to 30 pounds and 30 inches. So should we be more concerned about the fact that they hold 30 pounds or 30 inches? 30 inches would be what to watch over the 30-pound weight limit, because again, kiddo is very likely going to hit that height before they hit the weight. Now, if we move up to Urban, Urban is more expensive than Air, but Urban doesn't hold a bigger kid. Counterintuitively, Urban, even though it's more expensive, only holds 22 pounds for weight. Doesn't bother me. Again, that's easily within a 1-year range for most children. And then the height restriction on this guy is 29 inches. So it's almost 30 inches, but you would get an additional inch if you went to PIPA Air or if you went to PIPA Air RX. Air RX is $550. This is the most expensive one. This one doesn't hold the biggest kid, but it's the most expensive. It should be the best. I feel you. I have the same gripe, but this one will only hold 30 pounds and 30 inches. And again, that's great because it's going to take us through first birthday, no problem. But it is sort of counterintuitive that if we go to RX, my favorite one, the one that's $450, this one holds the largest child. This one holds 32 pounds and 32 inches. Again, I don't really care about the weight. I do like that it holds extra inches. Do I think by the time a kiddo had outgrown this seat that they also would probably be physically sick of this seat as well, despite it holding a larger weight and height? Absolutely. But there is an additional feature on this seat that none of the other ones have in terms of long-bodied kids, and we're gonna get into that. Believe me, I will not leave you hanging. I can really explain why this is the best one, just in terms of features. Okay, so that being said, I'm actually gonna remove Urban because Urban is different than the other guys in that it does not use a base for installation. So because it's different and we can't buy it on its own, we're just gonna leave it out of the conversation just for a minute, not forever, but just for now. And let's pull PIPA Air up onto here. Now, what I found interesting is Air and Air RX, so our $380 and our $550 seat pretty much have same handles, same seat, but there are more features on Air RX than there are on Air. These are the two most similar in terms of design because they're built on the same like chassis. The actual car seat like frame, the plastic pieces are the same between these two models. So what are you getting for $550 that you're not getting for $380? $550 has the most color choices of any car seat pretty much on the market. So there's a million color choices that you can get for this. Additionally, when you buy any of these NUNA infant seats, they all have, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the handle all the way back so you can see maybe a little more clearly. They all have an infant insert on the inside of the material, the seat itself. So if I loosen that and pull out the infant insert, and I have customers that get really intense about this. Let me see the padding. How padded is it? Is it comfortable? Okay, I get that, but like to fixate on this piece, which is an infant insert, is very foolish. You stop using this and it says right on it, discontinue use after 11 pounds. There's a ton of customers that think what that means is you remove just the internal pillow from the pad, and then you keep using the whole pad, but you take this piece out. Nope. After 11 pounds, both of these pieces come out, okay? So this is just a piece that's in there to help hoist the butt up so that they don't have chin to chest. But it is true on all of these car seats from NUNA. After 11 pounds, you take out the infant padding, okay? I'm gonna do it on Air RX as well. And I think people sometimes think these pads stay in there the entire duration of when you use the seat. Absolutely not. Comes out after 11 pounds. That is also marked on the back. Now, conversely, if you had a kid that had a throw up or a blowout, on the $550 seat, you get a bag like this when you open it up. And this is only on the one that's $550. Inside of that, you're gonna get a whole additional set of insert pieces, the head pillow, and also like the shoulder covers as well as the crotch belt piece. So if you have a really little baby that throws up, you would have an additional set of material to be able to use in there immediately while your other set is washing. The other thing that's nice about this additional material is it is all GOTS organic certified organic cotton. So if you have a kiddo with like eczema or skin condition and you're worried about them not being in material that's like as safe as possible, it's nice that they do offer this. Now that being said, on the $550 one, the Air RX, and on the one that is $400, the Urban, the infant insert that's in it that comes with it is wool. On the one that's $450 and on the one that's $380, it's called, the one that's $450 is an organic knit material, and then on the one that is $380, it just says knit material. So that was the difference that I saw. Now they're all gonna have flame retardant free fabrics for all the colors, so amazing. But if you were looking like, hey, which ones utilize merino wool, it's gonna be your expensive Air RX at $550 or PIPA Urban at $400. Those both, with the insert that's included, will have the merino wool. Now, the other car seats that we saw that aren't $550, if you wanted to buy an additional insert, you can buy an additional insert sold separately for any of those car seats for around, I believe it's $30 directly from NUNA. So if you wanted that piece, you'd be able to have that piece, not an issue. When we're looking at these seats as well, I do have a cheat sheet, which is right here. The actual weights of the seat vary slightly as well, which is another thing that customers fixate on. But I would tell you all of the NUNA infant seats are very, very lightweight. So the Air, which is the cheapest one, the one that's $380, is technically the lightest weight. It's 7.8 pounds. The Urban, which is the baseless one that everybody seems to think is super lightweight, this guy right here, this is actually the heaviest NUNA. This one clocks in at 9 pounds. And again, this one holds the shortest body and the lightest weight kid. This one can never be used with a base. So that's the Urban. If we go Air RX or RX, they're actually very close in weight. Air RX and RX are 8 pounds, 4 ounces, and 8 pounds, 6 ounces respectively. So RX is the 8 pound 6, Air RX slightly lighter, 8 pounds, 4 ounces. And that's with the canopies on them. They do give weights without like the canopy. I'm not sure who the hell would ever use it that way. Why would that be something consumers care about? I don't know. I think it's just to trick people. So we want the true weights, and that's the weight that I'm giving you. They all can be used in an airplane, so they're all FAA certified, which is awesome. And then I'm just trying to think. Okay, the harness height, expiration. They all have a 7-year expiration, which means that after 7 years of use from the date of purchase, or excuse me, date of manufacture, after 7 years, you discontinue the use. All of these seats have bike helmet foam in the seat, and they all also have memory foam. So you have a layer of bike helmet foam, and then you'll have a layer of memory foam. People frequently ask me which infant seats are the most comfortable. I would have to say the memory foam aspect of these seats is fabulous. It makes them very, very comfortable. Do I think NUNA is the best for comfort? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I do think that the kids in these seats generally seem to be pretty happy. I've never had anybody complain that they weren't comfortable. So definitely like the comfort level on that. Harness heights. Okay. Now again, they all have the infant pillows. The infant pillows all can come out. Another thing about these car seats that's kind of crazy for the price that they are is that NUNA does exclusively manual rethread harness, which means that as your kiddo gets bigger, let me come over, and this is true on all of them. This isn't just like one version. As kiddo gets larger, I'm going to remove the headpiece here. We have different slots to raise as kiddo gets bigger. Now, it'll even read right on the seat, for a rear-facing kid, you want the harness at or slightly below their shoulders. So you would, over the course of that first year, end up raising it 2 times. It's not difficult. If you've ever tied a shoelace, it's easier than that. You come to the back of the seat, you find the piece, you undo it from the splitter plate, you rethread and go through both sides. And again, this is something you do twice over the course of a year, so not difficult. But typically, if you go up in price on a seat, like this is a $550 infant seat, they wouldn't be a manual rethread. NUNA's claim is that it will make the car seat lighter weight if they don't have those type of plastic moving pieces in it for the moving headrest and shoulder pieces, and I do agree with that. Also, I don't think it's that difficult to rethread, but it's just kind of interesting on a seat this expensive, and through the entire line of their infant seats, they're all a manual rethread harness, okay? So that's something to be aware of. But this is a good point. Harness height, right? So what are we talking about? I measure from where the seat, the butt starts to where the shoulders go. So obviously there's 3 different positions here. The butt is gonna stay the same, but then each position will come up higher. What are the harness heights between each of the models? So Air RX, which is our most expensive, again, you would think it would hold the biggest body, but it doesn't. Air RX at $550, the harness heights are 6.5, 8.25, and 10 inches. Oh, excuse me, that's on the Air. So on our cheapest one, we're at 6.5, 8.25, and 10 inches. If we go to our most expensive, it's pretty much the same, right? Because it's the same seat shell. So we're at 6.5, 8.25, and 10. If we go to Urban, which is the smallest one, because again, that one only holds 22 pounds. That one has slightly different positions in the shoulder harness height. Also, the shell of the seat is totally different. If you look underneath, it actually has a pretty intense angle sitting upright. So of the NUNA infant seats, URBN is the most upright, which was kind of surprising. When you take the infant padding out, you really can see a difference when you set them next to each other. I will show you at the end. But you're at 5 inches, 7.5, and 9.5 inches for seated harness height. Now, on the RX, my favorite, the one that's $450. And I won't shut up about this, and I don't care. You can try and silence me all you want, but I do think this is a really sweet feature. If you go to RX, which holds the biggest kid, there is an adjustable crotch piece on this model. On the other models, it's just one crotch depth. Here, there's an adjustable crotch depth, so it starts tighter and then it moves out for an additional spot as kiddo's body gets bigger, okay? So remember when we talked about before, do I think a kid that's 32 pounds is gonna fit so much better in one seat versus another? No. By the time the kid outgrows one of these seats, they're definitely gonna be annoyed with any of the other ones, right? But what's special about this guy is that we have room in the seat to grow it out, to make it more comfortable for a body as they grow. So that is one nice feature on RX that's not on any of the other ones. I don't know why. You would think they would make it the most expensive, but they don't. It's $450, okay? So RX has the adjustable crotch piece. RX also has like the longest torso. Starts at 7, then goes 8 to 9, and then 10. So 7, 8 3/4, and 10 inches. And then your crotch depth is 6 inches or 7 inches. Crotch depth on your most expensive is 6 inches. Crotch depth on your least expensive is 6 inches. And crotch depth on the URBN, which is the smallest of all of them, is 5 1/4 inches. So of course that makes sense. The URBN stops at 22 pounds and 29 inches. So physically the interior of the seat is tighter. So again, if we're talking about using this with a kid for a longer duration of use, like you really want to get your full money out of it, go with the RX. It will give you the longest duration of use, okay? Now, they all kind of come with different stuff and install slightly differently, so that is something I want to show. One of the reasons why I'm really not fond of the traditional PIPA is that the traditional PIPA, which is not the traditional PIPA, it's called PIPA AIRE. Why I'm calling it the traditional PIPA is that it comes with a base that used to come with these seats a million years ago, okay? Meaning the first PIPAs that ever came out came with what was referred to as the original PIPA base, okay? So that $380 car seat comes with this original PIPA base. It has a bubble level on it, which is like that right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. It has the rigid latch. It has a load leg. So when we install this in a car, I'm going to use this seat right here. This is a NUNA seat. And I think just to make this more clear, let's pull it forward so you all at home can see. I'm going to actually pull this table back. Thank you for your patience. Let's pull this back a little bit, and then we'll pull this seat a little bit toward me. Furniture pushers on it. Okay, so here's our NUNA vehicle seat. We're going to take the base, and we'll lower this load leg just to not have it be sticking out horribly. But you install the base on the lower anchors. It'll clip in on both sides, and then you set the load leg till it turns green. On this type of base, there is no ability to tighten it to make it tighter in the seat. So I'm going to take off my jewelry. So my hand right here, as you can see, can fit in between the vehicle backrest and the base. Yes, it's installed. It's not moving an inch from its installation point, but my preference would be for it to go tighter. And you think like, why? Who cares? When you have your seat installed, having it tighter will make it fit slightly closer in the vehicle so it doesn't take up as much space nose to tail. So like there isn't as much depth adjustability on this seat as there is on their more expensive ones. And additionally, this seat can have lift. So do you see how that moves up and down? If this were a tighter fit, it wouldn't do that. But there's no capability to tighten this in based on the way that those rigid latches work on this seat. Let me see if I can back out slightly so you guys can see better. So again, it's not the fault of the seat, it's the base. And it's because this component won't tighten in any closer that we're gonna get that lift, okay? So yes, the seat is correctly installed, but you definitely can have lift with it. And that's true of a lot of car seats, not just this one. The other thing that I really am not fond of with the original PIPA is that the tooling on the actual load leg is kind of loose. And so if I would have parents that would call me and they'd say my base is rattling when I'm driving around with no kid in my car. So if there isn't weight to be pushing down on this, sometimes you'll get that kind of noise while you're sitting in traffic. That would bug me horribly. So for me, yes, this is a $380 option, but the base isn't ideal and it doesn't have a vent on the back. Additionally, it doesn't have any pockets or magnets on the side for a harness retention. So every other NUNA seat, and I will be showing you guys this, will have like a little pocket or a little magnet to do this with your buckle tongue to make that sit outside of the body of the seat, so if the kid is sitting in there, you're not digging it out from under their butt. So it doesn't have the vent, it doesn't have the little pockets. The base isn't ideal. So yeah, it's $380, comes in two colors, black or biscotti. It's nice for what it is, but it's just like in for a penny, in for a pound. This would not be the one that I would choose, but it's definitely a good choice still from NUNA. Very, very safe. So we'll go ahead and pop that out. And I will say the base is very easy to install. It takes 2 seconds. There's very clear indication on it of what to do. So that's great. Now, if we move up to RX, which is my favorite, or Air RX, which is another great choice, you get a different base. You get the RX base. Some people call it the relax base. I don't call it that, but I'm not relaxed about anything. So this base has a load leg. This base also has an anti-rebound panel. That's this big piece on the front. This base has rigid latch, but if you watch, I'm actually going to be able to tighten this into that seat. So it takes care of the issue that I have with the other base, okay? So let's install it. So now I'm going to install it on the lower anchors. They've both turned green. And again, I'm going to remove my jewelry, but we still have a big hole here, okay? That's not ideal. We want it to be a tight fit. So I'm going to go ahead and push this base toward the backrest, and it is self-ratcheting, which means it holds its position as I tighten it. And then I'm going to go ahead and set my foot plate down till it turns green as well, okay? So here's another thing. This one has tighter tooling, so I don't get any rattling complaints on this model ever, okay? So we went from 380 up to 450. We'll have a seat that has an adjustable crotch piece. We'll have a seat, they're crash tested. We'll have a seat that now has a pocket to hold the harness out of the way. So when we're taking kiddo in and out of the seat, that little pocket on the side is holding that tongue away. If you went to the $550 model or even the $400 model, the Urban has this as well. That cheap one is the only one that's missing it. You've got magnet on the side right here that holds that buckle tongue out of the way, okay? So don't sleep on these features, folks. These are what make the price difference between these different models. So 450 has a pocket, 550 has a magnet. 450 and 550 both come with this RX base that, as you saw, tightens in. The seat will drop into it super easily. And now, because it has that big piece on the front and it's super tight, we're not gonna have the same amount of lift. There can still be a little lift, but because of how tightly this is installed, that's the most that that's going to do. So it's going to reduce the amount of movement that there is for the car seat in an accident because of this. So as I said, it's the type of installation and the fact that it can tighten into the seat that's going to make all the difference on this. Whoops. Let's zoom back in. I run out of camera time. Okay, hopefully that's good. So now we take the seat out, boom, boom, boom. Easy, drop it in the base. Amazing. Now, let's talk about, oh, wait. Here's our Air RX. Goes into the same one. And then another additional feature is there's a button on this base where you can push it and you can have the seat sit more upright as kiddo gets older. So you will get sales clerks that will argue adamantly, it's a reclining base. It's not. It's an inclining base because it starts at most reclined and then inclines as they get older. So yes, in theory, it can recline back once you have a little baby, but it starts at its most reclined. It's not going to recline further than its preset most reclined position, okay? So just so that there's some clarity on that, because I think people sort of don't understand this, and a lot of salespeople that sell this don't even understand this very much. It's an inclining base. So another feature about this base that's great is that there's no level bubble. So when we install it, we don't have to be hyper freaked out about making sure that that bubble hits the line. People fixate on that with the original version and with other car seats pretty terribly. So it is something that I would hit on as a technician. Nice feature here. We don't have to worry about that level being set. And it is a super easy removal. Both of these bases can also install with seatbelt, and no question, RX is a better option between the two for seatbelt installation. The original base with seatbelt is not my favorite. I'm just not really fond of that original base, and I'm okay with that. Not everybody has to agree with me or like my decisions, but again, I've sold these for a long time, and as a technician, I'm allowed to have my own opinion. And again, this is non-sponsored content, so I can say what I want. If we move to the baseless car seat, okay, so let me grab PIPA Urban in cedar. I will say this is my favorite color, and you can get this color on other car seats, so just to keep that in mind, it's not just on this one. When you install an Urban, what's difficult is that you're always looking for the lower anchors in a car. So like it comes with anchor guides, but you'd still need to find the anchor in somebody's car to be able to install it. So we'll set it in, and remember, my fast installations here are absolutely not meant to like supersede the instruction manual. You need to read your instruction manual of anything that you buy. Over listening to me, the instruction manual is correct, and I am just a person teaching you about how to do this stuff, but you need to read your manual, and you need to read your car manual too. So when you install the baseless seat, you're gonna get, again, because it is not able to be tightened, a pretty broad variety of movement based on where that lower anchor position is in relationship to the car. So I'm even gonna back this up a little bit and show you guys on this seat. I don't know if I can, there we go. On this seat here, the latch is even more, the lower anchors are even more protruding. So if I install it on this guy, you'll see there's a big gap here. My hand can fit through, and then the seat can have a little movement. So it's still technically correctly installed, but that movement makes some people uncomfortable. And I totally understand that. So if you wanted to install this seat and you wanted to turn off this movement, you would use a seatbelt. And people are like, well, what the hell? I bought it because it has the lower anchors so it can quickly go into a car. Hey man, I feel you. That's probably why I would buy this too if I didn't read and understand that all the seats do what I'm about to show you, okay? So any NUNA seat can be used without a base. That's an infant seat. Wait, what? Any currently sold NUNA seat, there's some old ones that can't, but any currently sold NUNA seat can go into a car just with a seatbelt without lower anchors, okay? Or a base. And so I'm gonna show you how that would work. Wherever you see blue on an infant seat, so there's a little bit of blue here, there's blue on this piece here, and then there's blue on this guy right here. Wherever you see blue on a car seat, That tells you how to install it without using a seat, or without using lower anchors or a base. So we're gonna use seat belt. And wherever you see blue, that's where the seat belt goes. So it's sort of like the yellow brick road, but it's the blue brick road. So I'm gonna buckle my seat belt, and then I'm gonna take the seat belt and pull it gently around the back of the seat, very slowly, tuck it into that blue panel. And once I pull my belt all the way out, when it retracts back in, it'll lock off by making a clicking sound. That's how I know it's correctly locked off. I do always pull it to make sure. And then the tighter I can feed the belt into the seat, the tighter this is. So while it had a fair amount of movement when it was latched in, belting it in has given me a tighter installation, okay? So people are like, well, if I have to do that, I'm not gonna get that seat. Yeah, Urban is a really odd little seat. I'm not sure what the attraction is for people. I think they just don't understand that the based seats can also be used baseless. So it's like, again, if I took my favorite option, the RX, here's another thing. The blue on the RX is more clearly marked. So like if there was an emergency and you were actually trying to get the hell out of somewhere and you needed to buckle this into a car without a base on the fly, I like that that blue is more called out. It's easier to see. So now I can take my car seat and I'm gonna do the exact same thing as I did before, right? Wherever there's blue, I'm gonna hook up my car seat with the seat belt, make sure it's locked off, and then, and this is why I say you have to do this part slowly. There we go, we know it's locked off. And then we'll tuck as much of the belt back in to the shoulder belt component as we can, and the seat's correctly installed. It's not going anywhere. So I can use this with a base, and I can use it without a base. We still have an anti-rebound feature of that stability, like a stability load leg with when we use a European belt routing method, because it's tight behind the head of the seat, so this head is not gonna slam toward the ground. The seat shouldn't slam back up toward the back of the seat. So all of the NUNA infant car seats that are currently on the market can install this way, okay? So that's a really cool feature. You don't need to buy a baseless car seat in order to use your NUNA seat without a base. Let's talk two more things on RX that I love. All right, people are convinced that I make this shit up. I don't. On all of the models that are not the Air, or excuse me, that aren't RX, let me pull this back because of the shadow, get this headpiece out. All right, when you tighten a car seat on a kid's body, you pull a strap, and I don't know if you saw, that made the harness get tight. To undo all of these pieces from around their body, the most valuable thing to do when you start with a car seat is, instead of leaving it tight around the baby's body, what you should do is loosen this harness, okay? How do we do that? There's a hidden mechanism under this flap. You cannot see it, it's sewn in there, but if you press, eventually you'll feel a little release mechanism. So you press on that, and then when you press on that, again, this is kind of hard to demonstrate, but when you press on that and you pull the harness, it'll loosen, just like that. But it's a hidden button, okay? I hate that. If we go to the RX, which again, my favorite model, if you want to tighten the harness, you're going to do the exact same thing you did. You pull that strap, that makes that tight. When you want to loosen the harness, oh, it's a visible button. It's not hidden. Yeah. So you say, hey, whomever is watching, press that button in between their legs, that gray button, you press that. And then if you pull on the harness pieces while you're pressing the button, the harness comes loose. If you have a parent that's helping you and they call you over every little thing, like how to fix their iPad, this is the type of thing where it's like, that's much easier to see. It's clearer for people to see. Absolutely a fan of that mechanism being visible, okay? So that's on RX. On all the other models, it's a hidden button. Now, one final note, because I'm completely insane. Let's make sure I've got my remote here, because this is what I want to show off. If you take a NUNA stroller, so right here, this is the Demi Next, and this is just for like the sake of showing you guys. It comes with different types of car seat adapters. So NUNA strollers come almost always with this adapter. It's called a ring adapter, okay? It's like one ring to rule them all, like Lord of the Rings. We put that on the stroller. The car seat will go on. Okay, it'll just drop in so easy. Now, if I want to take this car seat out, I put a hand here. I need a full free hand. This is the Air RX. This is the $550 seat. I need a full free hand, and I'm going to squeeze a trigger or a handle, excuse me, on the back of the seat to take it out. So let me show you that mechanism. Do you see where my fingers are? Do you see how there's a hole here? And there's like a teeny little handle in there. I've got to get my fingers under there, and I pull that, and then it moves that hook, okay? So full free hand, $550. If we go to a $400 seat, which is the Urban, same story. If I want to take it out, there's a handle on the back of the seat. I'm going to squeeze it. But as you can see, it is a handle, and I need to use my fingers, a full free hand, to squeeze it. Well, what about the cheap one? What about the Air? I don't know, let's check and see. Put it on, feel around. Oh, it's a little handle. There's a window, and there's a handle that I need to squeeze. My favorite one, the RX. Drop it on. Now, because of the type of aunt I am always holding something in my hand. Phone, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, whatever. This one, I don't need a free hand. Wait, what? Yeah, I'm holding shit in my hand, and I'm gonna take the car seat off. RX, the $450 version, has a gigantic paddle on the back of the seat instead of a squeeze handle. So as long as you can bump that, you're going to be able to remove the seat. You don't need a full free hand digits to be able to squeeze the mechanism to remove the seat. So again, all excellent options for NUNA. You can buy an extra fancy base for $200. So the RX base is $200. It will come with one, but you can buy a separate. You can buy the original base for $160. I'm not really sure why the hell anybody would do that. Because even if you bought the original car seat, you could buy an RX base to make it nicer and less rattly. The only one that won't work with a base, period, is the Urban. But again, Urban is only able to be purchased with a stroller. And unless you're buying it online or like you know that that's the one you want, I would probably personally steer you toward one with a base. Okay, if you have questions or you have comments, leave them below. Head over to my website, destinationbabykids.com. You can see all the colors, buy whatever the heck you like. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember that these instructions do not supersede any of the manuals. You need to read your manual. You need to read your manual in your car. And like I said, great choices, different price points. Do what works for you. Every car 2003 and newer has those little lower anchors in them. Again, they all work with seatbelt or with lower anchor. Your choice, your call. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.